neurotransmitter synthesis, mainly nitric oxide synthesis. Nitric oxide is synthesized from which amino acid? Amino acid arginine. So do you remember the structure of amino acid arginine? I told you in urea cycle. So it has got a very beautiful group. You draw a triangle, okay, and draw a triangle. At the center put carbon, and at the apex of each triangle you put nitrogen. You pull like this, okay, you pull like this, and then add one double bond any of this, and then join this with a 5 carbon compound. 1 2 3 4 5 carbon amino acid. Amino means this is acid and this is amino group. So this is arginine. Okay, this is nothing but this is arginine. Now what will happen in arginine? This is oxidized. One of the amino group will be oxidized, and NADPH is required. NADPH is required for oxidation. Okay, NADPH is required for oxidation, and this oxygen and NADPH will oxidize this, and this will release nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, and without this there will be nitric oxide plus. When you add O group here, it becomes what? Citrulline. So nitric oxide plus citrulline. Again, citrulline can convert into arginine. You know how citrulline converts into arginine in urea cycle? Through addition of you know succinyl arginosuccinate. It will convert into arginosuccinate, and then arginosuccinate will convert into, after release of urea, it will convert into arginosuccinate after release of fumarate here. Fumarate, it will convert into arginine. So this is the process of regeneration of citrulline. So from this group, nitric oxide is formed. You can see here, this is the guanidino group that I told you. Here, this part of nitrogen is oxidized here by NADPH. Okay, and then after oxidation, what will happen? This will form nitric oxide, and citrulline will form here. So 2 steps of oxidation will produce nitric oxide, and here citrulline, and this citrulline can again convert into arginine. You know, so arginosuccinate to arginine, and this is the different enzyme will come. It is, this event does not happen in liver. It will happen in intestine and kidney. Okay, it will happen in intestine and kidney. It will not happen in liver. So this event is different from urea cycle. Enzymes are similar, but will be isoenzymes of liver. So this is how nitric oxide is synthesized in 3 different organs. One is endothelium. You can see there are 3 different type of nitric oxide synthesis. The enzyme that will synthesize this nitric oxide, and there's a function of this nitric oxide are different in different places. So you can see in this is synthesized in endothelium cell. So in endothelium cell, it will cause vasodilatation, relaxation of blood vessels. It is synthesized here. It is a hormone-like function. It has hormone. It is a hormone. Here it is hormone. Endothelial nitric oxide is hormone, but it can also be synthesized in neurons. Neuronal nitric oxide synthesis. Here it is a neurotransmitter. Difference between neurotransmitter and hormone is hormone will be secreted in blood and it will act anywhere. It is not a very long-acting hormone, long-distant hormone. It is a short-distant hormone. It is called autocoid. The short-distant hormone is called autocoid. It will be produced by this cell, and it can act on this cell also or nearby cell. And this short-distant acting hormone are called autocoid. So this is hormone basically, hormone autocoid. This is neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter means something that will always act at this junction at synapse, not elsewhere. Secreted from one nerve ending and it will act on other nerve ending at synapse. This is called neurotransmitter. The difference between neurotransmitter is the site of action, production and action. That is the difference. So these two are the action. Now, there is third function of production of nitric oxide. As you have seen, the production of H2O2 has resulted in this hypochloric acid. The same way, nitric oxide is also produced in macrophage, and this nitric oxide, when it will combine with this chloride, and it can form nitrochlorous acid, and it is also very deadly to bacteria. The same way we have seen in for this. So free radical synthesis in macrophage. That is why when infection rises, this production of nitric oxide is increased. Here, the production of nitric oxide is not very inducible. Here, inducible. That is why this is called I and OS. So three places. One is neuron, other is endothelium, third is macrophage. So these three type of nitric oxide are synthesized. Nitric oxide synthesis is very important process, and this nitric oxide synthesis happens through enzyme nitric oxide synthesis. There are three types of nitric: NOS, neuronal nitric oxide synthesis; INOS, inducible nitric oxide synthesis; and ENOS, endothelial nitric oxide synthesis. And nitric oxide synthesis in all this tissue happens from amino acid arginine, a very important amino acid that we have studied in urea cycle. Okay, from arginine nitric oxide is synthesized. From arginine nitric oxide is what is required? NADPH. You got that? And this is the only nitric oxide is only gaseous hormone in our body. That is why this has become very important. Gaseous hormone. And mechanism of action is also very different, a bit different. Action is different. So you will study about mechanism of action in your that system, endocrine system. Do you know the mechanism of action of how does this natriuretic factor? Have you studied about natriuretic factor? NF, atrial ANF, atrial natriuretic factor. Because in USMLE question is asked by they correlate this natriuretic factor with nitric oxide. Have you studied anytime natriuretic factor anywhere?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the mechanism of action of this natriuretic factor and this is similar. They both act on guanyl cyclase. Guanyl cyclase protein, cyclase, and there will be production of CGAMP in place of CAMP, CGMP. So you will study this again. So at least remember for the time being, this nitric oxide synthesis produce nitric oxide from arginine, and the action of nitric oxide is very similar to the action of ANF. Mechanism of action of these two are similar through GAMP, cyclic GAMP. Remember this much. So this is an important part of USMLE. Question asked from USMLE. You can see here. Nitric oxide, NADP, and citrulline. So oxygen and this.